This episode of Nintendo Pow Block is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support our family of podcasts, head over to patreon.com/bossrushmedia or search for us on the Patreon app on your smart device. Thanks for helping us build something better.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Nintendo Pow Block here on the Boss Rush Network. This is episode 342. I'm your solo host this evening, Corey Dierig. Ed had to work. Everybody else is busy working, doing other things. So you just have me. We were planning on doing kind of like our initial impressions of Tears of the Kingdom tonight, and I'm still going to give mine because I'm here and that's the big story of the week, and I think it would not benefit us really to not at least talk about the game, as it is the first week since the game's been out that we've recorded and done something. So yeah, it's it's been a weekend full of Zelda, and didn't really get to play as much as I wanted to, but who has, right? Even if you played all day and all night and didn't sleep, did you really play as much as you really wanted to? Not sure you did. So this, I don't know how long this episode's going to be, but it's going to be I'm going to say a significantly shorter episode, just because it's just me. Hi, hello. If you're just joining us, welcome. Yeah, so Tears of the Kingdom, it's out finally. 6 years and 2 months after Breath of the Wild debuted on the Wii U and Switch launch day. It's exciting. I'll get to that in a little bit. We're going to cover a few things today as well. I'm going to save some questions for Ed when he comes back, and Daniel and whoever else wants to come on and talk about Tears of the Kingdom. But for now, Snacktendo. Do I have to do what Ed does? Snacktendo. I see. Ed's the personality, the big boisterous personality. I'm the guy that comes in and kind of brings him down a little bit, for better or for worse. Who knows? Anyways, for Snacktendo, I did go to Casa del Rio. No, I did not. I lied. We went to Chipotle. I remember I had a burrito last night, and it was actually pretty good. I got that new chicken that they're offering right now. It's very good. It's very, very good. Had that brown rice and the grilled onions and green peppers. Very tasty. Very delicious. Chips and the corn salsa. Can't go wrong there. It was very delicious. But we also celebrated Mother's Day quite a few times this weekend. On Saturday, we went to my parents' house and celebrated with my mom. She had a big breakfast spread, as she usually does when we go over there. It's full of egg and cheese quiche and sausage, maple sausage, and some bacon and waffles. Pretty much everything that is terrible for you, but also delicious. No biscuits and sausage gravy, though. That's a staple. That's my favorite breakfast food, by the way. Can't go wrong with a good biscuit and sausage gravy, let me tell you. And then later that evening, I actually didn't feel very good, but not because of the breakfast. I still kind of don't feel great, but there was sushi for all the moms at my mother-in-law's house, so that was good. And then like I said, yesterday, Sunday, as of the time of this recording, we had Chipotle, and it was delicious. So yeah. Oh, we also had a bunch of cakes and cookies and brownies and all the delicious sweets that you could think of. Very good, very good, very good. But that's about it for Snack Tendo. Not a lot interesting. Didn't taste any weird drinks or Twizzler flavors, or I don't know. I didn't go to Domino's or Pizza Hut or Panda Express or whatever else Ed decides to eat at 1:00 in the morning when he texts me and he's like, I'm getting ice cream or I'm getting McDonald's. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing, man? If you want to be a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/bossrushmedia, and find out which tier is right for you. Our Patreon producers at the $5 tier or higher for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, and Rebecca Jewell. Thank you for your continued support. But it's all right. It's all good. So playing with power. I guess we'll get into Zelda in a minute. I played a couple indie games this week. This past week and a half or so. On Game Pass, on Xbox Game Pass, I played Ravenlock, which is a Zelda-like, a very, very light Zelda-like. It's kind of this voxel. I don't know if you guys remember that game Echo Generation from a company called Coco Cucumber. Coco Cucumber. But it's their next release. It's basically Alice in Wonderland meets Zelda. You can go around. There's 3 kind of major dungeons and then the Queen's Castle. And you can go around and you solve all these puzzles and try to get through the game. And it was very fun. I got all the achievements. It was quite fun. I found all of the what do you call them? The figurines, the rabbit figurines. I found most of the hats except for the ones that are DLC. I think there's DLC for the game. It was quite charming. It's not the best game I've ever played by any stretch. But if you are looking, the thing that I kind of the thing that I kind of felt about it, honestly, about partway through, it gets better as you go through because you start leveling up and you feel more powerful. The combat system's kind of, I don't want to say it's non-existent, but it's really easy to button mash your way through the game. Like, I think this game is designed to be a kid's first Zelda game. In all honesty, it was very, very easy. I didn't die the entire time I played through the game. I finished it with all the achievements in a little under 6 hours. But the game gets better as you go through the game. You get an achievement for petting the dog at the beginning. Also, pro tip: you start the game, you pet the dog, you get an achievement. But pretty much, you're this girl and you're moving into this farmhouse with your family. You do a couple chores for your family, and then after you're done doing your chores, your dad tells you to go to the barn and find if there's anything cool in there, anything fun, to check it out. You find this dirty old mirror, and then you have to go back to the kitchen and find a rag for this mirror to clean it off. And as you're cleaning the mirror, you kind of touch it and you get sucked into what is essentially Wonderland. I don't know if it's exactly Wonderland or not, but all the fixings are there, right? The Queen of Hearts is there. The White Rabbit, his name is Finn in this game. The mansion, the tea parties, the caterpillars. It's all there. So I'm assuming that it's Wonderland, but you are a character named Ravenlock in this universe, and so you kind of go through the Forbidden Forest and then the labyrinth and the clock tower and then the castle. Really charming game. If you have Game Pass, I highly recommend it. It's not on Switch yet. I don't know if it's coming to Switch or not. I've reached out to Coco Cucumber because I really want to talk to them about the game. So there might be an interview or a developer spotlight episode of something coming up soon. We'll keep you posted on social media and Patreon and all that, just to if that's happening. I really want it to happen because I think Ravenlock is actually a really special game. There's a lot of heart in the game, and so that counts for a lot, I think, in this space. So yeah, Ravenlock. If you have an Xbox or Game Pass, PC Game Pass, Xbox Game Pass, Cloud, whatever, I recommend it. Uh, it's a very very good game. I also had to pause the recording there for a second. My bad. So I've also been playing on Game Pass. This game is also on Switch, but I had it on Game Pass, so I played it there. Unpacking. It's a very charming game about basically what you're doing is just moving your stuff into different rooms, like a house, like your parents' house, and then you move off to college. So there's like a dorm room type place, and then your first apartment, you move in with a partner. Uh, and I don't want to spoil the story because there's a lot of great environmental storytelling in this game. I would highly recommend it, especially if you have Game Pass or if you want to buy it on Switch. I think it's 20 or $25. I also got all the achievement points in this game. Uh, it's funny, you get an achievement for flushing all the toilets in the game, so it's pretty funny. Uh, but it's a really charming game as well, and it's very kind of relaxing. uh, as you take stuff out of the boxes and you kind of figure out where it goes, and you get to kind of organize the stuff how you want it and organize your room. And then, once you realize you get to the levels where you're living with different people, you kind of get to move their stuff around, but also don't move some of their stuff around. And it's a really cute game. It's a really charming game. Highly recommend it. Try it out. Uh, it's cool. It's really cool. I don't really have much else to say about the game because there's not as much to say about it without spoiling the story. Uh, but it's really cute. It's really charming. Uh, go do the thing. Go play it. It's super fun. So those are the two those are the two Xbox games I played this this week. I also played a lot of Mario Kart 8 and Disney Dreamlight Valley, which I know people are probably tired of hearing about Disney Dreamlight Valley. So I will avoid that conversation. But Mario Kart 8 is still stellar. I've been playing a lot of the new tracks. After that, the first and second wave, I can honestly say the third and fourth waves have been exponentially better. Uh, I still don't like the Mario Kart Tour levels. I think they're really awkward, and every lap you take a different route through the game, and I think you just should not add any more of those levels. I don't like them. I don't care for them. But the remakes of the older levels are stellar. 1,000% recommend the Mario Kart DLC. Still the best. It's still the best Mario Kart game. I don't care what anybody says. I know on expansion pass we've been doing ranking Mario Kart, or Ed and I think Josh Martinez is doing that with him. So check those out on YouTube and on Patreon. I think the last one is up this week actually on Patreon, so you can go check that out. It's great. Mario Kart 8 is one of the best games I've ever played by far, and it's really fun because my kids are starting to show interest in video games, and my daughter has actually been looking forward to playing Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, which I don't have the full game. I do have the demo, and she's just been running around the Viridian Forest, I think it is, and just catching all the Pokemon in there, and she's having a blast. I'm actually charging my launch Switch, and I'm putting a few games on that version to on that console to let her play. So I'm updating some stuff, and it's super loud. So that's where I'm at there in terms of games I've been playing. I really I really want my kids to get into games, and my daughter's getting to that point where, like, I think she's the right age to start paying attention to games, but I don't know if she's going to be super into it. My son, on the other hand, he'll watch or touch anything that you put in front of him. So he seems more of a candidate for the gaming stuff, but also Also, who knows? We'll figure it out. I also have the controllers, the Switch controllers for NES, SNES, and Genesis. So we're gonna we're gonna plop them in front of some of them classic games at some point real soon and see if they take hold. Because I started playing Tetris and boxing and Super Mario Land when I was maybe a little bit older than my son. I was 3 when I got my Game Boy. I remember it distinctly, and my daughter is going to be 5. So we're gonna try. We're gonna do the thing. Also, I just realized that there is chocolate all over my hat up here. Cool. Just ignore it. It's fine. I need some new hats. That's that's gonna be next on the list. I think a new hat, one or two. We'll see. We will see about all that. But I know everybody just wants to hear about Tears of the Kingdom, so we're going to talk about Tears of the Kingdom, everybody. So the first thing I want to say is that this is a very, very direct sequel to Breath of the Wild specifically. It's not just a Zelda game you can jump into. I mean, you can, right? But like, this is the first time I feel like you should probably play the previous version of of the of the game as opposed to um hold on. I'm going to pause right here. Oh my gosh, Stephanie's here.
Surprise!
Ah. Hi,
I just
Stephanie.
used my Pad. That sounds, I don't know, I'm not sure if I like that name. I used my Pad to
Yeah.
transport myself here into the recording. Hello, guys.
Yeah, this is I was I was totally planning on doing the show by myself because Ed had to work. I It's funny because I actually already recorded like 15 minutes of this episode and we were just getting to the Zelda talk and we were texting and I was like, well, okay, if you feel like you want to jump on and talk some Zelda, that'd be great because I'm sure nobody wants to listen to me talk about it for an hour. Uh so I guess I will let you go first. How do you feel about Zelda?
Mostly positive. I think there's some part of my, I don't know, brain that's still kind of trying to digest everything because it is overwhelming. And I don't want to mistake that for a negative reaction. It's more just I'm still cutting my teeth on it just before I get a true sense of it all. I don't know about you, but it's a
Yeah,
lot.
that's how I feel. I've played about 8 hours and I feel like I haven't done anything.
Mhm.
Um I have just been so it took me I I know you can do the tutorial sky stuff in like probably less than an hour, which is what the guide says, but I was up there for like 3 hours just exploring and like looking around and found some caves and I explored some caves and then when I got to the land like Hyrule land part, right? Like I went straight to uh kind of like the main hub area and I just started following the story points because I'm like I just want to I feel so overwhelmed and lost that I feel like I need at least some direction before I start going off and getting lost and doing the Breath of the Wildy things, right? And
Mhm.
then
What guide says that you'd be done with the Great Sky Island in like an hour? Because from the people that I've spoken with, I mean, they're not speedrunners either. They've spent at least 3-4 hours on the Sky Island, the tutorial
I
part.
mean the the IGN wiki says that you can get to the land, get to Hyrule in about an hour if you are kind of booking it.
Okay, IGN, way to set some really unhealthy expectations.
I know that's why I
Okay.
don't. That's why I don't really go to IGN a whole lot anymore. Uh,
But can
but
can we just start though at the beginning though? The beginning was really
yeah,
what
so I guess light spoilers. We're gonna try to stay a little bit spoiler free, just because this is our book club game for the next 2, maybe 3 months.
mhm.
But yeah, so the opening is really different from Breath of the Wild, right? Because in Breath of the Wild, you just kind of wake up as Link and you run out of the cave, and then it's like the world is your oyster. Go do
Right.
go pick up sticks and eat apples and
You have
whatever.
no memory, but something happened 100 years ago, which in itself at the time was a very cool and interesting premise. I don't care about the
Hmm.
people who criticize Breath of the Wild for having no story. I actually
Hmm.
found it very interesting. Not something that you could do twice and get away with, but I liked it. But yeah, this is very different. The fact that they didn't have the official title screen show up, it just said, Nintendo Presents, and there's
Hmm.
that heartbeat. I'm like, oh my
Hmm.
gosh.
Yeah.
Mm.
And this this game, like, even like down in the caves, right? Like the game kind of opens up. If you've watched any of the trailers where Link and Zelda are walking underground, right? That's kind of the opening. Uh, and like even the music that's playing is like very very Twilight Princess esque. Which, by the way, side tangent, bone to pick. I tweeted out, I'm very upset that the Wolf Link amiibo does not give you a wolf companion. No wolf companion. It just
You
gives you
tried
10.
it?
Yeah, I did. I've tried every amiibo like 5 times. They're all
What does it give you?
it just gives you like a bunch of raw meat and a chest, because it gives
Oh,
you the twilight. I think it gives you the Twilight Princess fabric for
mm,
the
mm.
glider, which is like, that's fine, but like, man, so disappointing, because I use the wolf link. I've used the wolf companion in Breath of the Wild the entire game.
Why
Seriously, the
not,
entire.
right? Like, I don't see
Yeah.
what's the down it's not like you can super meta the game with the Wolf Link amiibo.
Yeah, and I am one of the people who played through Twilight Princess all the way through on the Wii U and leveled up my wolf companion to 20 hearts. So like, he wasn't just like a 3 heart, you know, and gone,
Aw.
right? Like, he was like there the whole time. And the fact that I feel kind of like lost without it, because it would like hunt things for you, it would go pick up items for you, it would help you fight enemies, and now I'm like, I don't have that. I don't have that safety net of a partner to help me fight some enemies.
Do
But
you think it's because we won't get too much into it again because of, I don't know, book club stuff, but once you start, um, ticking off the main objectives and then you get, the runes, I'll just say, you have
mhm.
companions, quote, unquote?
Yeah,
So
I mean, that's
maybe that?
yeah, I mean, that probably has a lot to do with it, to be honest with you. Uh,
But still,
but
it would've been
still,
cool.
yeah, it's just, I know a lot of people probably didn't play Breath of the Wild with the Wolf Link amiibo because they probably didn't play Twilight Princess, which was the only way you could get it for a while. I think they did end up selling it separately. Uh, but yeah, I played the game that way, and it like, I feel really lost. I feel really lost without it. Uh, I actually feel really lost in this game, because even though like I recognize certain parts of the world, it's still different. Whether there's a shrine, or like the red glowing holes, or one of the blocks that takes you back up to the Sky Islands. It's very I don't know. I feel way more overwhelmed right now than I did when I started playing Breath of the Wild for some reason.
No,
S-
I feel right there with you. That's why I tried to like center myself and think about the beginning part of the game, the opening, because I'm like, we're gonna
Mhm.
be revisiting that.
Yeah.
So, but it was definitely one of my favorite opens of a Zelda game.
Yeah.
Dehydrated Ganondorf was incredibly awesome. The way
Mhm.
they did his voice all dried up and stuff. Now he mentions the imprisoning war, which I was like, okay, Nintendo reaching back into their timeline, quote unquote, and history of events. But so that's a positive, right? They're reaching and using the Zonai, which were barely mentioned in Breath of the Wild. Talking about imprisoning war because it's been mentioned but not fleshed out. So this
Mhm.
makes it really feel very Zelda-y. But here's the downside for someone who's like a fanatic with this kind of stuff, I pull out Hyrule Historia and I'm reading the description of the imprisoning war. And it's like the first event after like the fall timeline. I'm like, but this doesn't make sense. The Rita weren't in there and blah 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 blah. Like my head will start to rationalize how I'm like, how is the Zonai in there? The Zonai weren't in Ocarina of Time.
Mhm.
So
Well, this is where my so the we talked about it on an expansion pass, which is actually coming out for free this weekend, this coming weekend. It came out for patrons before uh, before Tears of the Kingdom came out. But I sent you and Ed this paper that I found at the library where we were at the library with my daughter, and we were like, she was playing with this stuff called Buddha paper, which
Oh,
is like this reusable paper that can be reused once it dries, because it's like a water-based material, and you draw on the paper with water, and when it evaporates, like it, the paper's empty and you can restart and do whatever you want on it, right? And
mhm.
so to me, this is kind of hitting a theory that I had before the game came out. It was like, this is not sticking to the Zelda timeline that we know, right? This isn't in the far future. This is an alternate timeline altogether. This is just it might be like a multiverse theory type thing almost too, where like, okay, well, the imprisoning war happened this way in the other games, but here's how it's happening here. Like, it's the same event, but things during the event changed. Different characters may have been a part of it, whatever. Uh, of course, I'm I'm only like 8 or 9 hours in, so who knows, right? I haven't even done like one of the first major phenomenons yet. I'm heading that way now. I'm actually going to do that after we
Well,
record, but
it's a good point because honestly, Nintendo put that timeline together because the fans demanded it. So damned if they do, damned if they don't, right? But it's just it's your if you're a fan of the franchise, of any franchise, it's just almost like a knee-jerk reaction to kind of like flip
mhm,
back and make sense of things. So again, this is where there's going to be like a big I don't know if dichotomy is the right word, like a I keep going back and forth between really enjoying and getting into something, and then something in my brain pulls me out and ruins it for me. So when he mentions imprisoning war, I got excited, but then got confused. Um,
yeah,
and then Link gets caught by the arm that was holding Ganondorf down, and he wakes up in a new form of Shrine of Resurrection. I think it's the Room of Awakening,
yeah.
and then Raru talks to you, which I love Raru. He's a cool character.
hmm
Um, I like the voice
Have
acting for
you
Raru.
have you done the first Impa quest yet?
No, I haven't gotten to Kakariko actually.
No, it's not in Kakariko. It's just in the world. I
Oh
found
no, I
like
haven't.
I found her when I was on my way to the first phenomena, and I ended up doing her quest first. Man, you didn't do that yet? Oh my gosh, you got to
No.
do that.
All right.
There's like a
Well,
huge there's like a huge and I thought this was like a side quest thing, but let's just say I found the first what the equivalent of memories were in the first
mhm,
game. I
mhm.
found the first one. Well, I think it's the third one, but my first one. Huge story spoilers. Also confirming another
Something.
theory I had
All right.
that
Well,
I'm not going to
okay.
spoil here.
Whereabouts is Impa so I can at least head in that direction when I get off the
So,
podcast?
when you go towards the castle,
Mhm.
like from I guess where you landed originally, I guess, from what's that? Lookout.
Look out, something. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, you walk towards the castle, and you're gonna go left, and there's just a random guy on the side of the road with a red exclamation point, and
Hmm.
he's like, "Oh, you should go see Impa," and then it like Impa's quest pops up, and then
Okay.
it's gonna tell you to go to the right, and so you follow the path and you find Impa, and you gotta build like one of the flying machines and take her up in the sky, and she shows you some things, and then you come back down and you have to find something for her, and that will unlock a memory, and it's incredible.
Okay.
I was shocked, but also really excited because I predicted this like a year ago.
All
And
right. I'm
I've
so doing this as soon as I get off the podcast. Like, see, this is what I'm saying. It's funny because Breath of the Wild is open world. Like you can tackle any of the divine beasts in whatever order. But I almost felt like the way Nintendo set up the game, I felt a natural progression. Like, okay,
Mhm,
you wake up, Great Plateau, get off Great Plateau, go to Twin Peaks, Kakariko, Kakariko, Hateno, then technically the Zora, but you don't have to. But that, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's I felt it. I could be wrong. I don't know about you, but like for me, it's like literally whatever you want, and that's where I'm like, I
Mhm.
don't know.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. So I'm like, my thing was like I'm following the story beat stuff, and then I would go off track to go do shrines and stuff. That's actually how I found the guy on the side of the road. I was heading towards a shrine,
Hmm.
and then I was like, oh well, he has a thing. I'm just gonna stop and talk to him. I thought it was like a side thing, like, oh, go pick some apples for me and bring them back or whatever.
Hmm.
And it was no, it was just a major quest, and I was like, oh geez, this is cool. Uh,
Nice, but
Man, I want to just like I can't wait till we do book club because that's the first thing I'm talking about.
all right,
Uh,
I'm gonna make sure I definitely do it then.
uh,
But
I'm also so for book club we decided to get to like do like what one of the phenomenons.
right, the Great, I almost said Great Plateau. See, Sky Island and one of the phenomenon. Depends on where we all are by the time we record because
Hmm.
what I kinda texted you, like, I don't want anyone to feel rushed in
Hmm.
progressing, but maybe I'm probably the most rush one, maybe you as well, because, like, we have kids. Other people might
Hmm.
not have kids. And then, like, other things, other factors, so we're I'm thinking one phenomenon.
Yeah.
Beginning and then one phenomenon. Maybe the next one will be, like, the rest of the phenomenon. I don't know,
Hmm.
depending if we do 2 or 3.
Yeah, I'm heading towards the one in the northeast right now.
Which one's
Uh,
that? Is that
I
Elden? Or
I
whatever?
think yeah, I think it no, it's the well, yeah, I guess it would be. It's the I'm heading towards Death Mountain.
Nice. That's where I wanted to go at
So,
first because Death Mountain looks terrible, like, something really messed up happened, but
uh-huh.
they pointed me towards Cerrito. I'm like, "They'll probably have the beginner shrines there," so I'm like, "Ah, fine, I'll go," and I think I'll do the volcano next, but I'm totally getting ahead of myself. Let's Could we talk about just the main, like, gameplay mechanics? Let's talk about the
Mhm.
abilities.
Yeah. Well, before we even get into that,
Okay.
I just wanna say I can't I can't believe this game is running on the Switch. Like, it looks
Yeah!
it looks great. I haven't had any real frame rate hiccups. There's been like, there was this one part where I caught the entire, uh, grass area on fire and killed, like, 10 enemies at once, and I saw some dip there, but, like, this game looks much sharper than Breath of the Wild. I even turned Breath of the Wild on. I was like, I don't remember Breath of the Wild looking this good. And I turned it on, and it definitely doesn't look as good as Tears of the Kingdom. It's sharper, the colors are brighter, it doesn't look as washed out.
It does nothing to do
It's
with the like, OLED, right?
No,
Okay.
I haven't played it in handheld mode at all. I've
Oh,
only
okay.
been playing on the TV.
Okay, so that's good to know. I do agree. Even when because I've been playing handheld, unfortunately, a lot, but when I put on the TV, I do agree. I definitely felt like it is better in imagery. It is sharper, and yeah, the only times I've ever saw a dip in frame rate was when I was in handheld, which I would expect, right?
Mhm,
And it's very minor, like the flags in the distance. They're like stop
mhm.
motion movement, but other than that, like I've
Yeah.
had no issues, and I'm like perfect. I don't know how they did it, but they did.
Yeah. I mean, NVIDIA also, I don't know if this tech is in the Switch or not, but a lot of their tech does like prioritize frame rate stuff. So like
Mm,
things that are closer to you will be
yeah.
like that frame rate will be prioritized. You see it a lot in Metroid Dread actually, where like a lot of the game in the foreground runs at 60, where a lot of things in the background run at 30.
I didn't
Uh,
know that. Well, that makes
yeah,
sense. S
yeah.
So, yeah, I'm really happy because I think a lot of people were worried, like, at the sheer size and scope of the game, like, this is how many years old hardware at this point? Like, how outdated it is? I mean, Nintendo's got that down. I don't know how or why, but at least we don't have to worry about. I hate to say it, and I'm not singing Nintendo's praises out of Nintendo bias because Nintendo has their own crap. But Nintendo definitely has a way of releasing games that are near perfect, and we're not counting Pokemon other than
Well,
that because it's the
yeah.
Pokemon company.
Yeah, I just like I don't understand how you get something like Breath of the Wild, which is like granted, you can't mess up Zelda. Like it's your it's your like flagship franchise outside of Mario, right? It's like your
Mhm.
prestige franchise. You can't
Yeah.
mess that up. But like you look at something like Pokemon or some of these third party games that have released that are just like real Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Like, I can't believe they even tried to sell this on Switch, right? And you look at Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and you're like, the Nintendo. Nobody knows the Nintendo's hardware like Nintendo does,
Yep.
and I mean that's granted. Okay, you could say that about Sony too, right? But like, I I can't believe the game runs this well, looks this good, plays this good. The world is like it's literally 4 times the size as Breath of the Wild, right? If you consider the Sky Islands,
Yeah.
the caverns, and
Yeah.
then like
Oh, this itty bitty cartridge.
I don't know if you've gotten to the other part of the game yet,
Quiet.
uh, but
I've been
there's
to Skylands, the regular ground level, and I've just entered one underground cavern.
okay, well there's a fourth thing that I don't want to tell you about.
It's got to be time. I don't know.
It's not. It's not. It's God.
Okay,
Here, I'll give you
Where? Just tell me
I'll give
where. How am I missing out on all this already?
I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
A Link to the Past has one,
Dark
and
World?
then mhm,
So the Dark World.
yeah.
You're telling me this game not only has time in it, whether or not it's actively in gameplay or not, but there's definitely time. There's also Dark World. There's
and
both. I
and
love it.
it uses the entirety of the Hyrule map. Now, granted, it has its own like it's not as fully featured, right?
Right.
It's just not. But it has its own puzzles, it has its own shrines, it has its own thing.
See, this is where like I do get a bit frustrated because like how am I already missing such a huge aspect of the game?
Well, you know the big red pits?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Go down there.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Uh-huh.
Okay, then yeah. Well, that's what I meant by cavern. I
Oh.
apologize.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Yeah,
yes.
apparently there's like and granted, I just heard this on a podcast. I haven't exactly done the whole thing, but like they were talking about how this dark world version has like its own shrines and it's totally like a world you can explore and you have to use the light
Hmm.
seeds,
Yeah.
the bright seeds to light it up so you can see your way around the world. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, there's too much in this game." This game's massive.
Yeah.
Like, just thinking about how massive this game is, like, I think of games like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, The Witcher 3, and how big those worlds are, and this game is, like, that big and maybe bigger. I don't know. It's just
You know what I wish? And this is a want, not a need, right? I forget. Must have came in the DLC of Breath of the Wild where you can track where you went.
Mhm.
Kind of wish I had that for this because it was so much.
I wonder if it'll be added later.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I wonder if there'll be DLC for this game. I was thinking of that the other day. Uh Yeah,
Well,
I'm not sure, but uh let's talk about the new powers
yes.
because I want to say I think the biggest mistake for me at least was playing a little bit of Breath of the Wild before this game came out because I wanted to familiarize myself with
The
the
mechanics.
map again and the
Mhm.
mechanics and like some of the mechanics are the same, but all the powers are different. And the way you utilize those old powers now are encapsulated in items that you find throughout the world, right? Like the bomb plants
Mhm.
and the fire arrows are now like you pick up the fire plant and you attach it
Mhm.
to the arrow now, and like everything is based around the fuse mechanic and the master hand mechanic now, right?
Ultra hand.
Yeah, what I
Mm.
say, master hand, ultra hand, and yeah, and the ability to like go through the ceilings of buildings and caverns and stuff is is hilarious, but like I think it's really cool like when you go up through the ceiling and it takes you to like that astral plane and you're kind of
Mhm.
swimming through this blue
Yeah.
pl-
It's
plane of
funny because I'm like,
existence.
who the heck thought of this ability? But I love it. I'll admit, I actually really love Ascend a lot.
Yeah, it saves a lot of time for climbing too. If you find a cave and you just want to ascend to the top of the place, as long as there's something above you, you can get to it. And a lot of the shrines I've found I've had to use that mechanic, uh,
Mhm.
and it's I always forget that that mechanic exists, and I'm like running around looking for a ladder like an idiot for 5 minutes, and then I'm like, oh, I guess I could have just ascended.
Well, here's something that this is where when we've been texting where I feel stupid. I am an idiot. Like Ultra Hand, I feel like is probably the most. I wouldn't say important. They're all important, but most used, heavily used.
hmm
And I feel like I'm back in grade school and can't draw inside the lines because I can't get nothing to connect together straight. It's always like crooked or sideways and things are always falling off. And then I get super frustrated. And I know it's a me problem. It's not a game problem, it's a me problem. I don't have this patience. And when like you click the button to rotate things, it just like auto rotates and I'm like, ah, oh
Right.
gosh.
Yeah. It's yeah, and I'm getting I feel dumb too because like I keep going to rotate something and I'm mixing up my left and right my left and
Yeah.
right trigger buttons and I'm like, "Oh no, I don't want to use it. I want to rotate it." And so I find myself doing that a lot. And then I'll try to attach something to something and I'll press B instead of A because
Oh yeah.
the
Two
buttons are
different.
wrong. Uh and so I'll like release it and like a balloon will just fly away and I'm like, "Oh god, come on." Trying to attach it to this raft so I could float to the top. Come on.
I know, when I see all these, like, short clips on Twitter of people doing these brilliant things, and I'm like, "Wow, could not have thought of that." Like, it's just a simple Korok thing where you reunite the friend with the other
Mhm.
friend, and it
Yeah.
seems simple. There's a Korok at the bottom of a cliff and a Korok at the top of the cliff. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is so easy." So I put 2 balloons on a rafty thing, and then at first I used, like, the dragon heads, but it didn't go high enough. So I did the dragon heads again, but with a rocket. But it shot me up so high and so quickly, like by the time I got to the top of the cliff, the poor Korok already plummeted back down to the bottom.
Mhm.
So I'm like, I am stupid. I'm pretty sure someone thought of how to solve this in like 2 seconds, and I gave up.
Let me tell you what I did before I jumped on to record. I had so while my kids were taking a bath, I was like, let me jump on and like try to at least inch closer to Death Mountain. And so I'm walking and I see this Korok on the side of the road. He's like, I need help. I'm like, okay, what do you want? And his friend is on the other side of this lake. So I'm like, okay, there's one of those like bird planes.
Yep.
And so I attach him to the bird plane and I'm like, no, first I put on one of the, like, the fan things, right?
Yeah.
And the bird plane is in a position to where it can't go forward. I'm like,
Yep.
"Okay, well," I'm like, "I need to find a runway. Let me build a runway. Let me see because there's boards lying around." I find a rock find a rocket. Find a rocket laying in the rocks over on the side, and, and I attach it to the bird plane
Oh
and
no.
then I put the fan, like, kind of underneath it,
Mhm.
so it's like I'm like, "It needs a little bit of lift before the rocket," and I'm like, "I'll just send it that way," and then when the my battery pack runs out, which is a thing, by the way, there's, like, this battery pack that you have to manage when you build stuff. So I hit the fan, and it starts going up faster than I anticipated,
Yeah.
and I try to jump and hit the rocket, and I miss the rocket. So it's just going straight up. And the Korok's like, I need to see my friend. And I'm like, oh no. And so the plane comes back down when the battery runs out. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna shoot it across. So before it hits the ground, I hit the rocket
Uh,
and it like nosedives into this river. and, the, and the Korok is in the water underneath this bird plane. And the rocket is shooting it down the river. And I'm like, I really hope this didn't autosave somewhere in here because I don't know where the Korok went. It just started going down the river.
that
It was
poor
pretty
thing.
I know.
I wonder
I'm
if
like,
he'll respawn.
I hope so because
I
it was funny though.
you know,
It was funny.
no, it is, and unfortunately, I've read, like, the articles, like, people are, like, intentionally messing with the Koroks, but, like, I'm killing them, and it's not even on purpose. Like one was over a chasm, and it would fall through the chasm, and then that one where I was reuniting the one at the top of the cliff, like the rocket shot up so high, I don't know,
Hmm.
like I don't know what happened. The thing just like plummeted back and just like crashed into the stable. I felt so
Oh,
bad, and then I just left him there,
yeah.
glued.
Yeah. The building mechanics is definitely not my strong suit, but the Koroks are funny. Have you seen the Have you seen the Korok crucifixions on the on Twitter where they're like
No.
people are building crosses out of like trees on these, and they're putting them on these wagons, and there's like they're building these wagon trains, and they're sticking a Korok to each one of these crosses, and I'm like, oh, and they're setting them on fire and riding them down the road. Like, oh my gosh.
I don't condone crucifixion, but oh my gosh, that's why it's hilarious. I
Oh
need
my
to look that
gosh.
up,
It's so funny. I'm gonna try to find one and I'll send it to you.
please.
Because
I'm
it's
pretty sure Nintendo's mortified.
I'm sure, but they should have thought of this before you
Yeah, the way
before
to
you
deter that is like a morality system where if you do stuff like that, you get punished for it, but there's no punishment.
yeah.
Oh
Uh
my
yeah,
gosh.
it's pretty funny. Here they are. Okay.
Ugh,
I'm gonna send you these because these are pretty funny.
thanks. So,
Um
let me get a question in before I start laughing again.
okay.
How are you liking the fuse ability? Have you made any interesting weapons?
I made a giant giant axe, which was super useful, and then I made like the dumb kind of long sticks. I don't know. People are calling them sticks on big sticks online. Uh, oh my gosh, this one's hilarious. Uh, and it's I did find that I could fuse a fire plant to a sword and it would just be on fire.
That's awesome.
Um, I saw somebody build like an actual working flamethrower,
Uh-huh.
which was pretty funny. Uh, and
Nice.
then what else? I haven't really built too many weapons, although I've been attaching different things to my shield actually. So like there's the
Mhm.
mushrooms that cause like a smoke screen.
I haven't found sorry, I just saw the picture. What mushroom is that? I haven't found it yet.
There's one in the Sky Island that's pretty I know those are they're so funny.
I'm sorry, it's not that funny. Like,
No, it's pretty funny. Let's be honest. No, here's the train one that I found.
I'm sorry, listeners. Not so much. Oh my god.
This should be the thumbnail for the episode.
I can't wait. Please talk about something.
oh oh no, here's the good one. Okay, let me
Oh, poor thing. Oh,
here's one more that you're gonna. This is the funny one.
I'm
Um,
crying. Oh my gosh.
uh, what were we talking about? Oh, yeah, that's the funny. That one's the funny one.
We
So
should
just
use this out.
everybody just Google search Korok crucifixion and you'll find all of your it's funny.
Anyway, okay. Ooh, so fused.
uh
Um,
yeah, I've just been attaching boulders to my low level shields because it makes them stronger. I've been more experimenting with the bow stuff because
mm, mhm.
uh the the eyeballs that you find track the enemies. The fire flower kind of sets things on fire. I also found a couple of the ice kind of, what do you
Oh,
call them, the
I love
blob
those.
things. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I've been able to freeze enemies which has been really nice
Yep.
with arrows. So I've really been experimenting with that, and it's been working.
I love the I love the dazzle fruit. Sorry, the dazzle fruit is when you shoot an enemy. All the enemies in the vicinity.
Oh wait, hold on. There's another one I have to show
So
you.
I can't. I'm not even looking at it anymore. It's in my brain.
No, this one you have to see this one. There's this video was floating around on Twitter, but here's a screenshot of it because it's pretty funny.
But have you used dazzle fruit? I like if I'm like running into a horde of enemies. Did someone make that?
Yeah, somebody made that. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
How? How? I don't understand. This is this is where I wish I was creative. I think this is
That's where you wish you were creative by making a male genitalia out of Korok seeds and boards and a rocket apparently that explodes at the end of the video. The video is much funnier than this screenshot. So look, everybody, we're just children, okay? We're just
I know, I'm sorry. This is supposed to be an intelligent podcast about our first impressions of Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah, I haven't really been satisfied with my weapon comment. I don't know. I just like was hoping I could get something super strong, but I'm starting to get there. Like for example, when you're in the sky, you can hit a lot of archipelagos when you hit like the light research tower and you fly up. There's usually an archipelago around there, and there's also
mhm,
a massive construct which looks like a big blocky Minecrafty mini boss.
mhm.
Those are fun actually. I like fighting them, and when you beat them, you get these cool like razor blade attachments. I've been using that. Or the boss bokoblins, they have like the
Mm.
really powerful stuff on their heads. So, you know,
Yeah, I've been avoiding those enemies until I can get more heart pieces. I have a lot of the upgrade stuff. I just can't find. Is there a statue you can pray at in the town?
I haven't found any yet. Now, granted, I haven't been to Hateno or Kakariko, but I haven't found any. So I always have to teleport back to the freaking sky and
Mm,
go to that one. And that's why I'm like, I'm almost at 8 now, 8 of those orb things. I'm like, I'll just bulk do them.
yeah.
But
Okay.
no,
Yeah. I guess I didn't really think to go back to the sky. I was like, I just forget the sky exists sometimes. Man, this world. I wish I wouldn't have played Breath of the Wild because I probably put like 3 or 4 hours in to Breath of the Wild just running around the world probably over the last like 2 weeks just to refamiliarize myself with the game, and it was a terrible decision.
mm,
You know, yes, I recommend you play Breath of the Wild before you play Tears of the Kingdom, but do not leave some space in between because the the powers and just the way the world works is just, you know, man, it's so
yeah,
different.
yeah. So you've been mostly traversing like regular Hyrule and not going back up to the Sky Islands a lot?
Yeah, I've only been back to the Sky Islands once, and that's because when I found a tower and then it updated the map and it gave me the Sky Island maps to that. So I went up and looked at them for a little bit. I ran around and, did some stuff, but I went back down because I'm like, I'm gonna come back up here later.
Mhm.
So I'm just gonna finish my story quest, and then I got sidetracked again. But that's actually how I found the Impa quest. Or that's how I finished the Impa quest actually, because like these pictures are so funny. I gotta close my
No,
messenger
I'm not even
window.
looking at him. It just like comes into my brain now. Sorry.
Oh boy.
Um, what was gonna remind me of speaking of like trying to get stronger before you tackle more enemies, like I'm terrified of any base that erupts with a talus. I'm like, F that, and I run
Mhm.
away. And I also I really wanted to fight it, but I saw my first Gleeok and it was an ice Gleeok near the Hebra Mountains. I'm like, that looks so cool. But I knew that I was going to die if I tried because I only had like 5 hearts. So
Right. Yeah, there are. there's a ton of things I wanna do before I mean, if I was playing this like I was playing Breath of the Wild, the first thing I did in Breath of the Wild was go and unlock all the towers that I could at least, and then I did the shrines around the towers, then I would move on to the next tower, but I feel like I have to play this game differently because of book club, so, like, I'm trying to be more efficient in what I'm doing, and, like, I keep zooming out of the map, and it's really bothering me that I can't see the whole map, but I I think, like, overall, my impressions are super positive. I I can't believe that this game makes Breath of the Wild kind of feel like a relic now,
Hmm.
right? Because Breath of the Wild was such a great foundation for this open world style Zelda game, right? Like, you go wherever you want, the shrines were great. My biggest complaints they've addressed my biggest complaints, right? Where dungeons are now in the game, confirmed. I haven't been to one yet, but they are confirmed. Be in the
Can I
game.
speak to that real quick? I won't
Yeah.
make it super spoilery, and everyone has their own opinions. And I've only done one dungeon. But the one dungeon I did do, the atmosphere is cool. Like, so it's not like the same Sheikah Divine Beast structure, same thing. Like, it actually had its own theme.
Hmm.
Love the boss fight. Like, I love the fact that they bring back the boss. But I was a little disappointed because they call it a something temple, a temple. But
Hmm.
guess what? The whole point of the temple was to unlock 5 locks. Sounds a lot like something I did in a shrine. You have to you access all these terminals. And after all
Hmm.
that, it opens a thing, start the boss fight. So, I don't know, maybe it's just for that temple. I just was a little like, okay, so it's not a traditional temple. It's still more like a divine beast, but
Yeah.
I'm not poo-pooing on it. I'm just, we'll
Yeah.
see.
No, I kind of have gone in with lower expectations for these dungeons as opposed to a divine beast, but I am still excited that they're there. So
Yes, for sure. So back to
uh
that, yes.
I
They
just
brought back dungeons.
I definitely think the divine beasts were the weakest part of of Breath of the Wild by far.
Mhm.
Uh but also like my other thing was like I don't like the breakable weapon system. Now granted, I have like 25 amiibo I can use to scan items in. There's items like every 10 feet that you can kind of put together and fuse and find and make your current weapon stronger and whatever. But I hated that in Breath of the Wild. And the fact that you can kind of fuse stuff together to make new weapons and hopefully find stronger weapons. And I my thing is I wish you could craft better weapons. Like
Yeah.
you've like you could go find, I don't know, rubies and opals and amber and stuff and kind of fuse them together to make a weapon that was, super durable, couldn't break, whatever. Uh
I know, and all the traditional weapons are all or metal weapons are all rusted. I'm like, "Oh gosh, okay."
yeah. So that would have been my only kind of gripe. But other than that, like I think this game is a daunting task, but it feels like I'm back in this world that I want to be in. Like even though it's kind of overwhelming, it feels like a natural progression of Breath of the Wild, and I really love it. And I when I did that first kind of memory, it felt like, okay, this is this is a continuation of what you remember. It's not really that different. It's fun. And then that overwhelming feeling kind of dissipated.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, I agree. Any gripes I have with this game so far are either so nitpicky or I kind of filed it as the jury's still out because I feel like I need to get used to the controls first before I can truly make a complaint, right? And I need to get
Mhm.
far enough into the game to fully understand everything. So that's why like everything I have right now is either so nitpicky or I feel like I don't have enough information to render a true judgment. Um and it's funny, I wrote a banter about it that's going to release tomorrow. I do have to say that Tears of the Kingdom is an extension of Breath of the Wild, but Nintendo's done it in a way where it keeps it completely fresh. So I'm not saying that as a criticism, but if you look at just the opener, for example, you start off in an isolated area, Great Plateau, Great Sky Island. You wake up after getting severely injured, Shrine of Resurrection, Room of Awakening. You have a dead person that's guiding you,
Hmm.
Raru and old man king person, and you have four shrines to access main part of the world, and then you still have shrines. Now, they managed to do it differently by completely changing up the gameplay with the abilities, and like everything is like flipped upside down. So on one hand it is an extension of Breath of the Wild, but for some reason Nintendo was able just to make it just freaking fun. That's all I can say.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny how they said so much of this started out as as DLC for Breath of the Wild, and it's like,
Mm.
oh man, I still think that this is going to be a trilogy of games. I still think there's going to be one more after this.
I don't know, man. What else can they add to the world? Holy
I
cow.
mean, you go to a new world. That's the third game, right? Like the next Nintendo console will be will give them a chance to kind of do more, I think, in a world where that we haven't seen yet. And also, like, when you have someone like Monolith helping you build out the world,
Mhm,
um, which for those who don't know, Monolith is the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 developer, or Xenoblade Chronicles series developers, and they did the kind of helped uh Anuma's team build out the world and fill it with things and make it feel lived in and stuff. So
mhm.
yeah, it's Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah. A lot of
It's
the stuff that I really love are the smaller details, not to keep rattling on, but
hmm
I think that's what makes it what I really like about it. Like Link humming actual Zelda songs while he cooks. It's
hmm
a tiny detail, but it's a awesome detail. The return of old enemies, like I've seen likes and they're disgusting, but I love
hmm
them.
yeah.
I haven't seen a Redead yet. I just know they're in there. Um, no spoilers, but the boss that I fought is like a play off of an old boss that has been seen in the franchise, but obviously they kind of
hmm
make it new again.
right.
Um, Question: have you seen in a cave like a pool of this gloom, but it's got like hands, like floor masters reaching out of it with eyeballs on it, and they chase you around? Because
hmm
those are fast, and it took me out quickly.
hmm I didn't find him in a cave. I found him in a like a castle ruin.
Oh gosh.
And I was like, I found a chest in there, and I went into the castle, and like all of a sudden it like got real dark, and then I just see these hands like start chasing me. I'm like, oh my gosh, and I climbed out the window and ran away. But like, scary.
I know. So this is where I'm like, am I being dumb again and not fighting this in a clever way? Because that moved fast. I'm like, get out, get out, get out, get out.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't wait for the piggyback guide. Is that what it's
I
called?
know.
Piggyback?
I pre-ordered it already.
Yeah.
The hardback one.
Yeah. I did the soft cover, but the hard cover looks amazing.
Oh my gosh, it looks so good.
But yeah, so overall, the expectations have been exceeded as far as first impressions are concerned. It's beautiful. The
Hmm.
sound design is great, in my opinion at least. Gameplay is fun, uh, and gives us a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, it's again, we're gonna be doing this for book club over the next couple months. So if you want to hear more about Tears of the Kingdom, I'm sure on next week's episode when Ed is back and we kind of have a full crew, they'll have impressions and we'll talk about it more.
Can I,
But book
can I
club
ask
is
two more questions? They're
yeah.
quick though.
We actually have a bunch of questions about the game in
Oh, then
Discord.
I'm sorry. Then I'm sorry. Let's do that.
Uh, I mean, you can ask questions. I don't care.
All right, but these will be quick one-liners because they're the questions that I guess everybody would ask. Now that we've started playing, do you, in your opinion, feel like A, the game is worth the 6 years that it's taken in development? I know their COVID was involved. And do you think it's worth the $70 price tag?
Yeah, I mean, I think. See, the $70 price tag doesn't bother me because
It doesn't
I
either,
mean,
but I hate when people bitch about it. I mean,
I
oops,
know
sorry, I'm not supposed to swear.
I don't
Can
I
you?
don't care. No, I don't care. Uh, I mean, you lived through the N64 era when games would cost 80, 90, $100.
Yeah.
I paid $99 for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 on the Nintendo 64, right? Like that was a real price at Walmart, and I saved up all summer for that game. Uh, so like yeah, when GameCube games were $50 and Wii U games were $60 and Switch games are $60, and now the premium titles are $70. Yeah, I still don't think that I think there are games out there that are probably worth $100, right? In terms of the content that you get. Like you look at something like Red Dead Redemption 2 or The Witcher 3 and how massive those games are and the production values in those games, or Horizon Forbidden West, and like how just massive those games are. Those games could probably, like, if people weren't the thing that ruins that too, right, is games like Fortnite and Apex and games like that are like free to play, and like
Mhm.
you only spend $5 here, $10 here, $20 here, and you don't think about the overall cost of what you're spending,
Yeah.
where you're actually paying, you know, maybe 150 or $200 over the course of the time that you played it. I mean, I buy Destiny every year. Guess what? The expansion, the 4 seasons, the dungeon pass. Like if you buy that all separately, that's like $140. But if you buy it all together, it's $100. And so like I spend I spend at least that on Destiny every year, more than that with like the armor sets that come out every season. Uh, some of the ships and sparrows and all that kind of stuff, all the cosmetic stuff in Destiny, right? That stuff all costs real money. And so like yeah, a Zelda game that's complete at $70, and maybe you'll get an expansion pass later that's like $30 or whatever, and maybe you'll spend over the course of the lifespan of this game $100 on a game like this that I'll easily spend maybe 100 or more hours in. Yeah, I'm fine with the $70 price tag.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I'm in that same camp. I even thought Breath of the Wild might have been worth a $7 price tag because
Mhm.
A, people forgot how much games cost in the past. B, if you look at Xbox and Sony first party titles, I mean, they've already crossed the $70 threshold.
Mhm.
Like, are y'all stupid? Like, it's fine.
Plus,
It's fine.
plus, like you think of all the premium editions and stuff of like Xbox and PlayStation games you're buying, right? Like Call of Duty, like the maximum is like $150. NBA 2K is like $100. All these games that, like, yeah, the base version costs $60 or $70, but like if you're into that franchise or that game, you're paying for the premium edition or the expansion packs. You're still paying 100 and 120, $150 for that game. And so, I also think like the loud minority on the internet is whatever. They
True.
complain about everything. Um and I think, yeah, okay, gaming is an expensive hobby. It really is, right? Unless you don't have to be there day one for certain games. I mean, Nintendo games are the exception. But like, I'm looking at this Xbox sale right now, and there are great games that are like anywhere between $2 and $10 on sale, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this game is only $2.50, right? Like, uh, Crosscode is a game that I really love on Switch. It's $11 on Xbox right now. I'm like, oh my gosh, that game is amazing for $11. The amount that you get out of that for $11 is incredible. Uh, but Nintendo and I think Sony now, to an extent, view themselves as a premium product and a
Yeah.
premium company, and their games are never going to go down in price. Breath of the Wild is still $60. I was actually shocked when Switch games started coming out and they weren't $70, because Xbox and PlayStation had already kind of
Yeah.
announced that uh well, maybe did they? I don't think they had announced that yet, but people were expecting them to make that jump. And obviously with Series X and PlayStation 5, those games have already jumped to $70,
Yeah.
uh but then you get something like Pikmin, right? Pikmin 4 is only 60. You know, there's other games that are out that are only 60. So, I mean, the next Mario game will probably be $70. The next full 3D Mario game will probably be $70, right? Metroid Prime 4 will probably be $70. But that's another case too, where like we saw Metroid Prime Remaster come out for $40. It's like, what?
Exactly. Yeah.
$40 for Metroid? Really? really? That game? That game should be $60. That game's amazing. So who knows? Who knows
Who
what they're doing?
knows? Yeah. All right.
But we do have some Discord questions about this game. Uh, let's see. MH Norris writes in, part of the writing team. She asks, "Is the game easy to pick up if you didn't finish Breath of the Wild, or is there a steep learning curve?" Huh.
Um,
I would. Here's the thing. Like I said earlier, I would recommend playing Breath of the Wild before this, but more to familiarize yourself with the world. If you want to know the story, I would, and you want to jump into this game, I mean, don't spend like 30, 40, 50 hours in Breath of the Wild to catch up, because you're never gonna you're gonna miss the conversation. If you want to be part of the conversation, I would say look up like a story synopsis, because like we were talking about earlier, this is a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild. The game literally opens up as, as a sequel. Like, you're doing the things that you ended the first game doing, right? Uh
that's true, but if you don't mind me saying, like, I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of as if I maybe never either fully played or played Breath of the Wild. I do think Tears of the Kingdom is a bit friendly
mhm.
to beginners if need
Yeah.
be. I
Yeah.
still agree with your recommendation though.
Yeah. If you don't care about the story, then no, jump right in, right? Like
Yeah.
that's like, if you want to see the sandbox and experiment with the tools, and I think they do a decent job of catching you up with certain things, at least early on. I mean, they set the stage where, like, okay, this happened, this is what you're doing, this is what happened at the end of Breath of the Wild. Here's where you are in Tears of the Kingdom, and here's where it kicks you off, right? So it does do a good job of that. Um, so man, I don't know. I'm kind of talking myself out of it now. Breath of the Wild is totally worth playing. Uh, Maybe depending on how far you are, finish it before you start this. But if you haven't really started it, then I guess I would say maybe you should just jump into this, because of the powers are different. You don't want to like teach yourself these powers in Breath of the Wild and then turn around and teach yourself these new powers, right?
Exactly. I'm a little concerned, if someone's considering trying to cram Breath of the Wild in before playing Tears of the Kingdom now,
Hmm.
I probably don't recommend it. If you had all the time in the world and don't care about playing Tears of the Kingdom now, then yeah, you should for the story. But I agree, like if you play and especially cram Breath of the Wild right before Tears of the Kingdom, you're gonna get so confused because you just have to retrain yourself with the controls and whatnot. I think they both have their own story, so you're really not going to completely miss the boat if you start Tears of the Kingdom if need be.
Yeah, yeah. And then Dave Lasby writes in. David
I think Mary
Lasby
had one
writes
more
in.
question. Sorry
She
to cut you
does,
off.
but I was just
Oh,
going in
I'm
order.
sorry. I'm
I was
sorry.
just going in order. I mean, we can answer her other two questions first if you want.
No, it's okay.
Okay, here we go. Do you think that someone who hasn't played a Zelda game before can jump in and play? Yes. Yeah, to me, like, as much as I love Zelda, I don't really consider Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom traditional Zelda games. So, like, if you haven't played a Zelda game before, it really doesn't matter. If you have played Breath of the Wild, I think you'll get more out of Tears of the Kingdom, which
I
goes back
agree.
to the previous question, I guess. uh,
Yeah, both Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom play a little bit more like just
mhm.
a third person adventure game that we
Yeah,
see in modern times.
and I know she's really into Horizon.
Hmm.
She talks about it all the time in the Twitter chat, and I think this is Nintendo's kind of answer to
Hmm.
that. Uh, there's a lot more kind of building and some of the vehicles people have built are insane, but there's a lot more of that kind of stuff. It's less trap setting and monster huntery, and more, let's see what we can do to solve this puzzle, whether it's building something or uh connecting 20 swords to connect an electrical you know kind of source. So yeah, I would say you can definitely jump into Breath. There's so many people that Breath of the Wild was their first Zelda, and like, man, good luck going backwards, I guess.
Yeah.
that would be my thing, is like, if you want to experience Zelda before Tears of the Kingdom, do it, because going back is really hard. Um,
Mhm.
so I guess that would be,
100% agree.
yeah. And let's throw the standard. What are your favorite and least favorite parts so far? Uh, I
Well,
guess I'll
my
let you go
favorite
first.
part is still the opening. Like I can't shake the opening from my
I,
head.
I know. I love Zelda in this universe. Like, I love Zelda in this universe. She's amazing. Like, she's incredible.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I'm gonna. I expect to see great things from her throughout the
yeah.
game. For least favorite, again, it's just kind of I'm an impatient player, so to speak. So the fact that you need to take the time to create stuff,
Hmm.
and create it right, and then and again, it's a me problem. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have that creative spark to make a gigantic vehicle that is perfectly shaped and functional.
Yeah, I would say this game definitely tests your patience. So, um, I think we were talking about this earlier, Stephanie, when we were texting about it. Um, this game definitely encourages you to slow down a
Mhm.
little bit and think your way through things, instead of just kind of brute forcing your way through things. And granted, you can definitely brute force your way through things if you level up correctly, and do the shrines to level up before you go through and do certain things. But like, there are certain things you really have to think about the puzzle stuff. Like, there's a shrine I found where, like, I had to I don't know if you found the shrine yet, but there's a ball, and you have to get it around all the way around this room through these kind of roller coaster tracks, but you have to
Oh, mhm.
build like specific, the first one you just roll it down the track, right? But the second one you have to, like, okay, well, the roller coaster track is wider than the ball, so how do I build a
Yep.
contraption for it to kind of go down? And and then the third one, you actually have to build like some sort of housing unit and attach it to a single rail to send it down. And it's like this whole entire thing of just being, man, you really have to think about some of the stuff. And these are like the beginning shrines, right? These are the shrines that are kind of around the starting point. So I imagine they only get harder from here. Or like the balloon shrine, where like you have to float the balls to the top of this
Oh, mhm.
kind of maze type thing, and it's like, oh my gosh, I gotta like build this
Yeah.
hot air balloon contraption.
You have to be really good with your spatial awareness, which is
Hmm.
not my strong suit. So that's why for me it's a weak point, not necessarily the game itself's weak point.
Hmm.
Just thrown out there.
Yeah, I actually really like the shrine puzzles. I think those are I do think the shrines are kind of my favorite part of these games.
Mhm,
I actually find I wouldn't say my least favorite part, but a part that I really struggle with is actually the combat and combining things to
mhm.
uh solve different combat puzzles, because sometimes the combat can be like a puzzle too, and you have to be
Yeah.
not only active in fighting these things, but you have to, like, okay, well, I need to know where this item is so I can attach it to my bow, and then I have to wait for this enemy to do this. And there's a combat shrine that actually teaches you how to do certain things, right? Or uh, one of them is like, okay, well, this enemy has a shield, and you have to wait for it to attack to do this certain thing, and then you can do like the press Y to do a powerful attack. And uh, some of the combat stuff is that's what I think is most challenging, actually. So,
You
uh,
bring up a good point because now that I've collected a lot of items, and we get a lot of
mhm,
items through amiibos too, when I'm drawing my bow, an arrow, and then I want to attach something, I sometimes have to flip through like 30 or 50
mhm,
things to get
yeah,
to my item. I'm like,
mhm,
oh gosh, like this is a lot of scrolling. And then there's a
yeah,
lot of options. I'm like, oh, fire, ice, dazzle. Like, I don't know.
right. And I mean, to get to the game's credit, the game does pause when you're like kind of
Yes.
floating through your items, so you're not like trying to scramble around or hiding to pick an item to attach to your bow or your sword or whatever. But like, it's still, when you're in the moment and you're like, I gotta scroll. Uh, That's another thing too. If you don't have the Zelda amiibo, I do recommend buying like a third offhand kind of card pack because it giving you items really helps. Like
Yeah.
I got a shield that was like 4 times more powerful than my wooden shield. Got like a plus 16 shield from an amiibo, uh, and plus 10 sword, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is
Wait,
super
what
helpful.
amiibo was that? I want to use that amiibo.
Uh, I don't know. I have almost all of them except the Majora's Mask and the Skyward Sword one. Uh,
Yeah, I only get rusty broadswords. Anyway.
yeah, it was what was it? It was a long sword, but I don't remember exactly what it was
All
called.
good.
Um, then I attached a rock to it and it made it like plus 17. I was like, yeah, this is awesome. But uh all right, Lasby writes in. He says, "What do you think of the enemy type variety in Tears of the Kingdom after how bad it was in Breath of the Wild?"
Much
Um,
improved.
yeah, I mean, I don't think it was really that bad in Breath of the Wild, but I do know what you're saying. Where I think there was a lot of bokoblins that just kind of wandered around and skeletons and stuff. Where like I do think the Zonai stuff in the sky is pretty cool. I think the weird kind of frog enemies that you find in the caves are kind of gross and
Oh
interesting.
yeah. The
Uh,
cave enemies, like there's one that almost looks like a monkey and he's like hanging
mhm.
from the ceiling.
Yep.
Really unsettling.
Yeah.
There's the likes that are unsettling. Then
Uh-huh.
the goopy hands that's unsettling. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot that I appreciate the enemy variety.
What about the walking trees, Corey?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, because the Korok guy
Yeah.
um was like, help me, help me. Those trees are scary. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I walk up to the trees and they just start running towards me like, oh my god. And I took out my I took out my giant axe that I had built and I just started cutting them down. It was scary though. Didn't
Right?
expect that.
It
Did
was
not
just kind
expect
of
it.
like, whoa, super
Yeah.
weird. You didn't
Yeah.
run into a Redead yet, did you?
I don't think so. Uh-uh.
Okay. Well, anyway, but
I
yeah, it wasn't like a massive complaint back in Breath of the Wild, but I guess like after putting in many, many hours, it's like okay, instead of the red bokoblins, they're now blue, black, and like silver. Like you know how they go up in difficulty.
mhm.
But here, there's definitely more variety. You have your standard enemies, and you got like we have the boss bokoblin now. Um, they're doing their little routes and whatever. So I'm looking forward to seeing what else I'll discover in the different regions.
Yeah, I'm excited to get to certain regions that I spent a lot of time in Breath of the Wild and see how they've changed. So,
I'm also biased too because they brought back a lot of old enemies. So like
uh-huh.
Nintendo brought back a lot of older, more traditional Zelda things and infused them into Tears of the Kingdom. Like you said, with the temples or dungeons, with the return of bosses, with the return of old enemies, Gleeok, likes, and stuff like that. So bringing in the older traditional Zelda stuff. Bomb flowers. I was like, "Oh, look, bomb flowers. What a nice little nod to the old days." Like it's nice.
I hope we get bomb chews.
Yeah.
um so yeah, that's I guess that's our initial
Mhm.
impressions of Tears of the Kingdom. I am enjoying it. I can't wait to play more. I'm excited to kind of get in. I've played 8 or 9 hours and I'm still not into the meat of the game yet, and I just want to like get in there and be like, I did the thing. Um, but yeah, definitely, definitely recommended, especially if you liked Breath of the Wild, or even if you like third-person action games with a little bit of experimentation. So,
Yes.
uh, is there anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here?
All the things, but I'll save it for book club. Thanks for letting me hop on, even though it was a little bit late.
No, that's it. I was planning on doing this by myself because I'd had to work, and I didn't want to bother anybody. Be like, hey, you want to jump on? You want to jump on? Come on! And then like you volunteered, and it really helped. It really helped. I think save save this episode. To be
Dude, it was
honest,
a lot of fun though, and you made me laugh so hard. I got an incredible ab workout. I don't think I've laughed this hard in a long time.
it wasn't me. It was the Koroks. You know.
Well, see, this is another thing. I guess this is my final comment. The thing where I find Nintendo excellence or Zelda excellence, this game got people talking. And I mean talking, not just, oh, this game is great. It's like, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? I found out about the IMPA thing from you. And like, you know what I'm saying? Like this
Hmm.
game almost brings back kind of like the old school way of just having conversations with others and learning from one another, not just being spoon fed to you from the game.
Yeah, it definitely reminds me of some of the things we used to talk about at school, like especially like the Mario 64 star locations. It kind of reminds
Hmm.
me of some of
Yeah.
those conversations I used to have, or like, other kind of like, oh, and Tony Hawk, you can play as Spider-Man. That's cool. But yeah, these man, this game is just, it's incredible. Uh, but yeah, we'll be back with another regular episode of Nintendo Pow Block next week. I know our schedule's kind of been all over the place with the show, but we'll get there. Schedules are hard, guys. But
Adulting is hard.
yeah, you're telling me. Stephanie, thanks for jumping on with me. I appreciate you. I want to thank everybody who wrote in. I want to thank everybody who watched or listened to this episode of Nintendo Pow Block. And
Yeah. Thanks for listening to me laugh for 3 minutes in a row and being so patient.
yeah. You can support the show on Patreon. You get early access to all of our podcasts and more. Just
Do
see
it.
which tier is right for you. Check out all our family of podcasts. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening. And until next time, we love you. Goodbye.
I love you. Bye.
Nintendo Pow Block is a product of Boss Rush Media, LLC, and is recorded from our headquarters in Akron, Ohio. The show is hosted by me, Edward Varnell. My co-hosts are Corey Derrick and Cordy Yikes. You can find Corey at I am Corey in HD on Twitter and Instagram, as well as hosting the Boss Rush Podcast and Tower Casuals, the Destiny Podcast. You can find Cordy at Cordy_Dykes on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. You can find me at That Richard Cole on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Nintendo Pow Block on all social media platforms at Pow Block Podcast. You can also follow Boss Rush Media and Boss Rush Network on all major social media platforms. Join the Boss Rush Network Discord and Facebook groups to interact with other friends and fans. Visit bossrush.net for more great content and patreon.com/bossrushmedia to learn how you can support this show. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.